We got so used to fighting and wars on the planet that one cannot help but wonder, has the world ever been at peace? According to some sources, of the past 3,400 years, humans have been entirely at peace for only 268 of them, or just 8% of recorded history. It seems we are forever at war with each other. However, there is another kind of war raging that we are not always aware of, and that is the battle for our mind. This is particularly true of this information age we are in. We are constantly bombarded with information via the news outlets and the advertising industry. They are all competing for our attention because they have figured out that once they have our attention, they can influence our thinking, and if they can influence our thinking, they can dictate our behavior. The advertising industry is built exactly on this influencing principle. See, our thoughts generate either a positive or a negative reaction in us. When we expose ourselves constantly to negative news, our mood will also become negative. If we avoid or minimize our exposure to negative news and rather focus on more positive stuff, our general mood state will become positive as well. Therefore, we should pay attention to what we are paying attention to. Where our attention goes, the energy flows. Hi, I'm your host, Dr. Rudy Labuskaghni, and thank you for joining us for these Big Shift conversations. During these conversations, we look at life through a different lens. We deliberately try to find a new way of looking at things by seeking answers from the ageless wisdom of the soul and not the programmed and fear-driven chatter of the ego mind. The mind is very powerful. According to the National Science Foundation, an average person has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Of those, 80% are negative and 95% are repetitive thoughts. The scary thing about a thought is that no thought is neutral. It always sparks some kind of reaction within us. Both the most gruesome act as well as the most brilliant invention all started with a thought, and the origin of all those thoughts is the mind. No wonder the competition to plant seeds in our minds is so fierce. All that is required is to sow the seed and then sit back and see how it sprouts. If we are unaware and mindless of what is happening, those seeds will take root and soon grow stronger and stronger, and before we know it, we become preoccupied with something. We all know that feeling. What should wake us up, though, is to how serious all this is. Once we realize, we become the product of our thinking. Just take a minute to think about this. As they say, as a man thinks, so he becomes. Negativity is a mindset. No one is born negative or positive for that matter. It is simply an indication of what thoughts are dominant in their minds. If it's correct that 95% of our thoughts are recurring thoughts, then we should not be too surprised about the mindset we find ourselves in. It is perhaps a good idea to pause for a moment and ask ourselves, what thoughts are mostly dominating our minds? We need to become more vigilant, in general, about the seeds being sown in our minds and the thoughts sprouting from that. A deadly seed that is creating havoc at the moment and that has been sown in the mind of humanity eons ago already is one called division. The me against you seed, us against them. It's an ancient strategy perfected way back already by Julius Caesar called divide and conquer. Break the unity, emphasize the differences. One way to do that is to get people to buy into the right-wrong idea. I am right and you are wrong. It seems humanity is at the moment divided like never before. black against white, liberals against conservatives, right against the left, and sadly now lately also the vaxxers against the anti-vaxxers. It is heartbreaking to witness how something like a vaccine is currently dividing society. In some cases, it's even splitting up families and ending long-standing friendships. This will keep happening until we call out the ego and realize what the game plan is: to divide humanity. We are right and you are wrong, and so the fighting continues. So how can we escape from this? Well, we must wake up to the fact that as long as we continue with the us against them mindset, we will be trapped in the divide and conquer program. We must become vigilant and mindful of the seeds getting sowed in our mind garden. We should consciously get rid of the weeds of division and separation. But how? How can we get out of this program? How can we stop this I am right and you are wrong mentality? The 13th century Persian poet Rumi provided a solution which may solve the problem when he suggested, "Somewhere beyond right and wrong there is a field. I will meet you there." So what about we meet in the middle? What about we both let go of being right and move to the middle and start listening to each other, but more importantly, start looking at each other differently? In that field of oneness and love, I do not see you as an enemy. I see the divinity within you. I respect you and honor you, and there is no judgment. There's only compassion. There, forgiveness becomes possible, because in that field, I look at you with the eyes of the heart. There, I don't care whether you are vaccinated or not. I don't care whether you are rich or poor, black or white, politically left or right. So let us go find that field. Let us start with our closest relationships and work our way toward all other fellow human beings. Let us not be fooled any longer into separation and division. Let us return to love. Let us go co-create a new earth. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, may life find you awake, aware, and alive.